Speaking of science, have you seen this? The secret to Osu stream speed, everything about it possible. Whoa. This is a long thread. This is insanely long. Whoa. It's efficient physics, bro. All right. Let's take a look. The secret to Osu stream speed, everything about it possible. Discussion. This post has nothing to do with the pattern of your stream / your ability to follow it with a cursor accurately, only the mechanics of the hand. I made this post before and it was removed by the mods for apparently being repetitive content, which is insane because no one has talked much about this. There's mention of wrist rotation, which is also bad advice, as it can cause someone to misinterpret it as twisting / bending of the wrist. Right now, if you look up how to stream faster, the most common advice will be met with is to stream until you feel a burn in your forearm. This is incredibly vague and is bad advice 99% of the time, as it's solely based on survivorship bias. The reason most people struggle with faster speeds is because most people are using their fingers along with tensing the arm. If your technique consists of mainly making use of the finger extensor muscles, your technique is inefficient. Extensor digitorum, extensor carpi radialis brevis. So they're saying if you use the muscles in your forearm for streaming, you're inefficient? Wait, that's wild, because I use the extensor muscles. I didn't realize how I never called it the extensor muscles. I called it my forearm, like using your forearm in your streaming technique. So this is me. This thread is calling me out. Apparently my technique is inefficient. It is tiring, has a low speed cap, and has increased risk of injury. What? How? Can this technique be pushed? Yes, and it's based on various factors, genetics, and it has huge variance. One day you can stream X BPM, another day you can't touch this BPM. Also, why would you settle for something that is inherently trash? Dude, I can't tell if I'm getting like TikTok rage baited right now. Xylus, what the f? You're the first example of what not to do in this thread? No way. The main way to identify whether your technique sucks is time. How long is it taking you to improve despite practice? If you're not in the 220 to 250 BPM range with sufficient practice within 1.5 years, or there's a big BPM range for your streaming on a day-to-day basis, your technique is most likely inefficient. Another way is the amount of tension you're experiencing. Tension should be around 10 to 20% or less, except for very high speeds that are not sustainable for most people, which is 250 to 300. Did you know that the piano was invented more than 300 years ago? Can I tell you a secret? Did you know they have faced the same technical problem as people playing Osu do, rapidly alternating between two keys? What if I told you that they solved this problem more than 100 years ago? I was actually thinking about this as well. It's actually part of the tech, which is why I swapped my my technique like a long time ago. So basically, I used to play like this. I think I used like S and D or something like that. Basically, I used to play like this, to then shifting it to more like this, where my wrist is more straight, because I saw how piano players would always have their arms like completely straight like this when they're playing, right? So like that's why I play like this nowadays. Like I try to keep my wrist kind of lifted off of the mouse pad. Sometimes it starts like this, and then when I start streaming, I do this, right? So like my technique like shifts, and that's because I was taking inspiration from like piano players. But that is interesting that this thread mentions that. That's cool. Forearm rotation in piano playing was systematically developed in the 19th century, though its principles were formalized and popularized by Tobias Mattei in his 1911 book, The Forearm Rotation Principle in Pianoforte Playing. The technique emerged as a response to the increasing technical demands and heavier touch of 19th century piano and music, offering an alternative to finger-only motions that could lead to injury. So, who is this guy? Christian Zimmermann, Beethoven, Piano Concerto, number 5 in E-flat major. He's almost 70 years old. Damn, he should have retired ages ago. He's been washed since 5 decades ago. Joking aside, this trill is hitting burst speeds around 220 to 230 BPM equivalent at its peak. Now, an important distinction to make, I don't want to get into too much nuance, is that in piano, the trill is used as an effect to produce something musical. For this reason, the speed is varied and is not a constant barrage of notes as in Osu. There are musical pieces with long, fast trills. The main thing I want to highlight is how clean and fluid the motion is to perform this trill, and he's using various finger pairings to execute it. It's also it's being executed on heavier keys, and he has to balance his forearm through his wrist. In Osu, you can rest your forearm on the desk/table, which makes things easier. What is the correct technique then? There's an underlying motion called forearm rotation, which involves the motions of pronation and supination. This motion, if done correctly, can generate insane speeds. This is what most of the top speed players have utilized, most likely without their awareness. There's a couple of ways to have come across this motion. You had piano classes and you had a teacher who understood correct hand technique well that taught you this motion and becomes ingrained since it's an efficient motion. When you played streams for the first time, your brain solved the problem with the correct motion. Extremely unlikely, but probably how most fast players have done it thus far. You're more likely to land on high tension finger technique. Some people, for whatever reason, can just do the motion with no prior experience of any high impact hand activity. They generally have no control and overstring things like 220 BPM with no practice. All these people have to do is slow down. The moment you press the first two keys in the stream and you're not doing the correct motion, your technique is inefficient. Damn! Forearm rotation technique. Let's say there's 5,000, probably a huge overestimation, people that can stream 250 BPM for 1 minute straight. There are 2 million active players, and let's say 50k people are actively trying to increase their stream speed. That's 0.25%, less than 1% of the total user base, or 10% of people actively trying. These stats are totally made up, but checking most speed maps, many of the players fail to break around 94% act, and that's only in the top 50. Obviously, the issue with this is these maps are not testing only your raw speed ability and require you to be good at other parts of the game. Some fast maps have more people performing well, around 96 to 98% act, but only 100 people for a map like this, which would diminish the percentage of people capable even more. The actual... Wait, I'm so confused by this. What the fuck? There's too many numbers. Do most people just not know how to alternate between two keys over and over? Are people just not trying hard enough, or is there something else going on? It's just to demonstrate how unlikely it is for you to fall on the right technique. Oh, I did not get that from this paragraph. Let's paint this scenario. Imagine two players completely new to the game. Blah, 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 blah. Is this still... Hold on. Let me skim through this to figure out what this thing is talking about. Oh, this is talking about the different thought pathways that a player might go through in order to figure out optimal technique. The trial and error approach. That's what I've done for a long time. Interesting. So this is outlining the trap that a player might fall into, because there is a... for a player, this is literally me, like actually me. This dude is actually calling me out. Like when I was trying to figure out how to get faster at the game, I tried a bunch of different things. That's the trial and error approach. If something worked for me, I would try like using more of that technique and experiment with that. I tried taping batteries to my fingers because I thought with heavier fingers, playing with heavier fingers, it would get me faster over time by like, it's like lifting weights with them. You know what I'm saying? I tried putting my hand in like different orientations and stuff. Like I experimented a lot, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm feeling the burn. Like, surely that's like working out, right? If I'm feel the burn in my forearm, I'm like breaking down muscles, and they'll rebuild, and then they'll get stronger or faster, right? So now there's outlining that a person that has fallen into this approach, this sort of like logical approach, will never go outside of this approach because they've already found a chance, like a percentage chance that it works, and now they're trying to solve for the how can I make it more consistent instead of the correct approach, which is something completely different. And that completely different thing is the forearm rotation. And then they're outlining, okay, the amount of people who are going to stumble across this technique is extremely unlikely. So most people, including me, are doing this wrong. All right, chat. This thread genuinely seems like it could change Osu forever. It could change Osu forever for me. So I'm very excited to dive deeper into this. However, it is now 12 p.m. Pacific, which means it is time for my co-stream with PAX West. Once we are done with our co-stream at PAX West, which is at... Oh, shit. Hello, Emrek. This is really awkward. I was reading into this thread, which is basically just calling me out for being bad. But I have a sponsored stream starting right now. You didn't read any of the important stuff, by the way. We will get to the important stuff after our coach stream. Chat, let's continue on with this thread then, shall we? So I read through the scenario. Imagine two players completely new to the game and they have reached decent proficiency at reading maps and can barely hit a triplet. Now they're interested in improving your streaming. Player A's approach is playing fast, bursty maps. What player A might find is, damn, I can't hit this burst. My fingers won't move fast enough. What happens when you try to use an inefficient technique to hit a fast speed? You will find your whole arm mechanism locks up. Wrists, fingers, everything. A bunch of forces fighting amongst themselves, making the stream unhittable. Now, there are multiple parts that happen from this point. Player A might say, I must try harder. If they continue down this path, their technique has a 99% chance of being bricked. Now, there's an alternate path if they say, how can I prevent locking? What can I do to allow myself to hit this burst? Now they're using a trial and error approach to potentially land on something that may work. Now, this decision making is not something active. It's happening at a subconscious level. I actually disagree with this part. I had a conscious decision to like try different things, you know? Player B, I want to be crystal clear that an inefficient technique can perform well at lower speeds. The problems arise once you start to push it. Now, player B has an entirely different approach. They decide that they're going to build streaming from the ground up. They decide to use long stream practice maps approach starting at a low BPM. They're going to focus on feeling the burn in their forearm. Everything is smooth sailing, and suddenly they hit a wall. Now, this is where the problem arises because how does this player's decision tree look like compared to player A? This player is most likely going to believe that they need more strength and more power. Why? Because they're clearly hitting the lower BPM streams, so all they have to do is play more. False. What most likely happened is they learn an inefficient motion at a lower speed that falls apart at higher speeds. This inefficiency has now been ingrained into their motion, and they will keep trying to push it. Do you see how? If you go about this approach and you have no idea what you're doing, you don't even have a chance to diagnose the problem, as with player A's approach, at least there was a chance. Now you have effectively reduced your chances to almost zero of finding the correct motion. Remember, there's a chance for a small percentage of humans to have the correct technique automatically, so it will be smooth sailing all the way up, but this is unlikely. There's also a misconception that finger strength equals finger speed. This is entirely false. You can have insane finger strength, strong grip, etc., but if your technique sucks, your streaming speed will suck. Finger strength and finger speed do not have a strong correlation. If you look at someone hitting a fast stream, what you most likely see is, wow, fingers go burr. You completely miss what may be going on under the hood. If their forearm is not visible, it's hard to tell what they're doing. In some cases, you can infer forearm rotation is being used by looking at the knuckles. If they're not moving much, it means the extensors are not that active, which increases the probability that forearm rotation is the main driver by a high chance, especially if it's a fast stream that looks to be hit effortlessly. Forearm rotation is best identified seeing the forearm at a side angle. Top down is the worst possible angle because you might be misidentifying high arm tension as rotation. It's a very specific signature which is hard to spot at full speed most of the time. It's literally a high frequency at fast speeds, low amplitude oscillation, which looks like this. Imagine something like this when watching the clips. Pay close attention to the forearm and look for a vibration. Think of this vibration as an engine where the speed is generated. It is not generated in the finger/finger flexors or whatever. Look here at the forearm. Okay, aimbot cone. Harrison. Okay, I can't tell if that was his forearm or his webcam shaking. Lifeline. I can kind of see what they're making. Like it's like this rotation of their forearm up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Oh damn, how does this dude play with no elbow support? Oh my god. The clip includes single taps as long with the burst. I used it because you can see the whole forearm clearly and clearly see the vibrations through during the burst. Ninarek and Ninarek 2. You can clearly see the vibration in the first clip and focus only on the sleeve in the second clip. It's moving because of what? There's obviously a vibration. This player might have the most efficient forearm rotation in this entire game. I mean, Ninarek is also jacked, so like, hey, pop off. Dude, Ninarek blows my mind. Like, actually, like, it confuses me to a certain point. Like, Ninarek thinks, or Ninarek's big problem right now is that he thinks that he is unattractive, which is fucking mind-blowing to me. I talked with him at COE, and that's literally what he told me. What the fuck, dude? He is like the best-looking Osu player I've ever seen in my life. Just kidding. Dabble app exists. But you get it. Anyways, Xylus. Oh, wait. Ninorak Extra. It's hard to see the rotation from this angle. If you slow down the video to 0.25 to 0.5 speed, you can spot it. You can spot the vibration at times, but it's another variable which adds to the usage of forearm rotation, which adds to the usage of forearm rotation is watch the fingers at the knuckle. The extensors are barely involved, and he is using his index finger kind of as a pivot point, which would only work with a rotary mechanic. It's actually similar to a trilling technique in guitar playing. There is some nuance, but this illustrates it perfectly, and both motions originate from the forearm. I'm trying to look at this part of the forearm, but like I'm not really seeing like that up and down movement. But let's continue on. Another variable which adds to the usage of forearm rotation is watch the fingers at the knuckle. The extensors are barely involved, and he's using his index finger kind of as a pivot point, which would only work with a rotary mechanic. The knuckles, like right here. Alright, I'm confused. I don't get it. Anyways. Oh wait, hold on. Maybe they're talking about the clip down here. Similar to this trilling technique in guitar playing. Huh. Okay. Now, this is what not to do. I don't have anything against these players. They just happen to fit the criteria for this illustration. They have managed to push an inefficient technique to an above average performance. This is also what most people do, or some variation of this. BTMC. Damn. The first example. Called out. Okay. Let's watch the clip first. Hey, my technique has gotten better since then, okay? All right, this is old. This is old. All right, this is outdated. Chat, this is outdated. I swear, it's outdated. Chat, I don't mash my keyboard that hard. I only mash it like half as hard. But I also have half the amount of skill now. So like, the tension here is beyond maximized. So many unnecessary movements are added to deal with the inefficiency and level of tension this technique produces. His shoulder and jaw are also exerting maximum tension. Captain. This concept is similar to BTMC but less erratic. The extensors are set heavily engaged, lifting the fingers high off the keys causes lots of tension. See the movements in the wrist? These are produced to alleviate him from the tension of his technique produces. Interesting. And then Zoodinator. Exact same concept as the previous two. Finger extensors heavily involved. They're attacking each key from the knuckle. The fingers are moving very rigidly. The main thing here is the way the ring finger and pinky are moving along with the middle finger. This 100% confirms it's a finger-only technique, causing lots of tension and inefficiency. It's important to understand the way it's moving along because in the forearm rotation, they move along in a different manner. Imagine your hand as a table tennis racket / paddle. The whole object rotates, so if forearm rotation were to be done correctly, the whole hand is rotating along with the forearm, causing the ring finger / pinky finger to move along in the case of an index / middle finger stream. I'll show an example. Wait, but this kind of seems like Ninorak's technique though. Like you can see like her forearm like moving up and down and stuff. Okay, this I can see that she's using her like fingers, lifting her fingers up and down. Yeah, that makes sense. From this angle, it kind of just seems like she's rotating her wrist. What's the common thing amongst these players? High tension and exaggerated finger movement. Just compare it to Ninorak and notice how fluid the motion is. Watch how the ring / pinky fingers are flowing with the hand. They're not generating any individual movement. Another thing to note is that this is 270 BPM. Even if you were not aware of anything I've typed in this post, if you compare this specific clip to the players in the second group, who looks like they're having an easier time? Players in the second group are all playing lower speeds, yet their technique looks rigid and ready to break at any point. Now, this is where you have to use your brain a bit. If you look at the visible oscillations of the forearms in the clips, it's important to understand it's not a vertical motion. It's a rotation around the x-axis. It's just the perspective that makes it look dubious. You have to understand the context. Visible forearm vibration is present. The game is giving visual feedback that the stream is being with 300, not the most reliable. The audio feedback of the game and the taps on the keyboard are relatively even, most reliable. This is not forearm rotation. This is a vertical vibration of the forearm, tensing the forearm to maximum and causing it to spasm. Avoid doing this at all costs. Some slowed down examples of forearm rotation from the best perspectives I can find so you can see the motion without a doubt. I extracted around 20 frames from around 30 frames which contained movement. I slowed down the frames and annotated it so you can clearly see the rotation. This means that all of these motions occurred within 0.3 seconds, which is ridiculously fast. Pronation, supination, pronation, supination. What the f? Aimbot cone. So they're not actually like using their fingers at all. It's all in their wrist. Lifeline, pronation, supination. So supination is when you're lifting on the thumb side. Pronation is when you're lifting on the pinky side. So like when I start a stream, I would do a supination first. No, I would do a supination first to hit my ring finger, then a pronation movement to hit my index finger. So like this is an exaggerated movement, right? I use C and D as my keys. So like how I typically do is like I will tap like this. This is my ring finger. You can see that I'm clearly using like my wrist. I can feel like my extensor being used here when lifting up my ring finger, right? But what they're saying is that the supination movement would be me basically rotating my wrist to the left, not using my extensor muscles at all, and just like doing that, and then lifting it back like this. So I'm not using my extensor muscles at all. But like this feels weird. You're making a vertical movement? A vertical movement? How do I make this rotation? Like, what would I do to rotate it? Is this vertical? Like, this is what I'm assuming they're doing. So this is wrong. This is vertical. How do I make it rotational? Such a forearm rotation piano class?
It should feel quite easy to play.
They still seem like they're just doing this. Like turning a doorknob. Like what? Now, if you don't get how forearm rotation works because it's not a forearm rotation on its own, the rotation is just a source of the correct positive energy, but it has to work in tandem with everything else, the shoulder, the wrist, the fingers. Anything you do is to oppose this whole system will introduce inefficiency. Lifting fingers, doing weird motions with the wrist, all this impacts the efficiency of the system. I'll demonstrate it using something mechanical, what you can conceptualize. Imagine a sewing machine, and you see at face value this. Oh, wow. Isn't that familiar? An up-down motion. Wow, wow, wow. The needle goes burr. Okay, but what happens when you look under the hood? What do you see? I see an up-down motion generated by rotation. Now, obviously, we can't rotate our arms continuously in a 360-degree motion, but the overall concept is the same. Now, in older sewing machines, they used to have a mechanism called vibrating shuttle. This thing functions exactly how you would approach stream/piano trills with a forearm rotation approach. The answer to streaming speed is not stream till you feel a burn in your forearm. Trust me, bro. Just play more, bro. The answer is simple. It's efficient physics, bro. This post is kind of missing how to actually do it. I think you saw that pretty well by calling Ninnick's technique the most efficient. I don't know if you ever really watch his replays. He has a pretty noticeable gallop in his tapping. I think it's important to also state the things that you'll lose by using a technique like this. First, rotation/vibro can be useful as long as you want to play speed and not streams. Weird how you didn't put Secret Box, Gigator, White Cat, Forum in the bad example side, even though they are some of the most notable tapping players, and they do not do this. Yes, Forum is a tapping player. Extremely controlled and stable tapping is the most important part of both aim control and space streams. I consider this similar to Vibro, by the way, because the bicep/jitter click muscle plays a large part in rotating the forearm. Also, the sewing machine literally makes zero sense. We do not have gears and flywheels and pulleys in our wrists. Why are they 0.5-second clips, dude? Just show an actual clip. Rank 400 speed player here. This is something I realized is quite true. Looking back at my hand cam replays over the years, there was a movement around when I just entered 3-digit where my technique changed, seemingly to include whatever thingy magic mentioned. I used to tense on my forearms and a lot when pushing speed, which really capped me at 250 BPM max. Even 1 second of 260 was impossible, kind of just like BTMC. So now I don't really tense up much anymore, and from what I feel, much more relaxed streaming. And seeing my own hand cams, yeah, there's a lot of forearm rotation. Can't say how much, but I can say it's not tense anymore. Overall, the entire thingy is somewhat true. I don't know if it's 100% true or what, but I do notice some links between what said compared to the old and current me. Though technique is not the only thing required to learn speed, playing long stream maps until your arms burn is more about training stamina and conditioning your hands to tap. You won't be able to stream 270 without being able to stream 260. Playing long stream maps definitely help too, but without proper technique, you only get so far. Just like me spamming Yomiuri 2,000 times as a 6-digit, which yes did make me learn 220 somewhat stamina-wise, but I couldn't push further for a long time. As a 4-digit, I spammed Spiritual Relief, constant 230 BPM death streams, which, while yes, it did give me more stamina for 230, It also allowed me to start pushing into 240 and 250. Now I'm spamming stuff like Megalomania, the Empress, rate changed maps like Valley of the Damned, Power of the Dragon Flame, all 260 to 270. Is it helping? For me, yes, but it's the only thing need to improve? No. Like every other skill in life, improving speed is finding the right balance and refining every single detail. At least to me it is. It took me 4 years to find a relatively comfortable technique. A lot of training and perseverance. Can anyone learn speed? Definitely. It's not a genetics thing for sure. So yeah, this post is most part helpful. Hell, it's probably made me figure out why I messed up my technique recently in the past week. It's all good about trying stuff. Didn't read this yet, but tapping is genetics. Kappa Ross. What up, Fiery? Okay, non-rage bait response now that I read through this post a bit. I kind of already talked about it a bit here, but this post seems kind of misleading. You go into depth about why rotation of the farm is good, but never goes beyond top speed players may be using this, which kind of defeats the whole point of saying the secret to speed discovered. If it's something people have been emulating for years now. It doesn't really help that simplifying everything to rotate your arm more while downplaying practice and effort you put into pushing yourself honestly makes this post come across as a bit patronizing more than everything. You're just replacing play more with something else at this point. Not trying to downplay the effort here. It's obviously put time into this whole thing. There's kind of an aura of belittlement that emanates from this that makes me not really want to take this seriously. What does BTMC's jaw have to do with anything? Meanwhile, Willie. Chat, have you guys seen Willie try to play? Willie Osu. Let's go, Willie! Let's go! Clutch that job, baby! Yeah! Oh shit, dude, he's munching. Willie, when he goes to a 3-star Michelin-starred restaurant called Master of Peace.
There we go. 738.
So funny. Leave BTMC jaw alone. Report it. All right. Listen. Outside of the fact of me getting absolutely called out and shredded by this post, I'm open to the advice that free accuracy is outlining here. Okay? I'm open to it. Let's figure out how to do this wrist rotation technique. Forearm rotation.
Before we continue, though, I would encourage you all to rotate your fingers right down to the subscribe button.
Get rotated, idiot!
Well, maybe quite a few bars.
Wait, is this the fucking reason that Vaxxer switched to pinky thumb? Because, like, that forces him to do, like, wrist rotations, right? Vaxxer got an injury? What? Wait, what happened? Sports injury? Apparently, he was playing sports and hurt his middle? Oh, shit. Okay. If he got a hand injury, then I can hit him up with my doctor. Do you think Vaxxer is coming back too? Listen, I don't think you guys understand that Vaxxer is just chill. He's just chill, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no, oh, I'm going to come back to Osu. Oh, I'm going to leave Osu. There's just, I'm going to play some Osu. I'm not going to play some Osu. Blah, 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 blah. It's not that deep, bro. It's funny. Vaxxer switched the same reason you switched. Vaxxer is fine, but now, fine now, but he got used to it. Oh, kind of like how I injured my middle finger and I switched to ring index. And so Vaxxer injured his middle finger and he switched to thumb ring finger. Bro, I got my first 100 PP play. All right, let's see. It's CB Dwayne. All right. DT on my Reshem something. Oh, no way. The Rafa skin. Or is it the Wolf skin? Vote now on your phones. Okay, he hit the jumps. 91% accuracy. Wow. You crushed it, bro. First 100 PP play. Congratulations. You could destroy MREC. I bet Ed couldn't FC this right now. Brew, talk shit. If you're going to talk shit, you better be ready to back it up. All right, chat. Let's see if I'm better than whatever rank he is. All right, you're right. Wait, what rank is he? What rank is he? Ah, shit! Are you better than a 6-digit? Nope. Hey, listen, but if I learned the Ninarek, if I learned the Xylus, if I learned the MREC technique, things would be different. Did you learn the secret? Xylus. I'm in the process. I'm watching sewing machines in hopes that I can learn the secret. What the fuck was this all about, dude? I have no idea. Chat, I need to get going. Enjoy life, guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. Today was pretty fun. This thread was very interesting. I will keep this thread in mind as I continue playing. However, I still need to wrap around this sort of forearm rotation movement thing.